Hey guys, welcome back to 9180. Due to the coronavirus outbreak and the social distancing that we have all been asked to practice, I imagine a lot of you are probably having a pretty poopy St. Patrick's Day, especially now that all of the bars and restaurants have been forced to close, at least in the Tulsa area. But I have to say, I'm willing to bet that Randy and I, and especially the septic crew that's been working on our property all day, have had a much poopier St. Patrick's Day than you have. And I mean that literally. If you watched my video this morning, then you know the intention was to have our septic system replaced today. However, my understanding is that when they went to remove the original concrete septic tank, the sidewall cracked and collapsed in on itself, and everything basically turned into one big poopy pit. And Randy says it was just as awful as you're imagining that it was. And even now, the smell, the smell is just awful, and luckily we can't smell it inside the house, but it's pretty potent. And what that meant is that most of today has just been a cleanup project, pumping out waste and cleaning out all of the concrete. And you know, our friend Scott, aka Michael Gatlin, he made a pretty good point on Facebook when he asked why on earth did they not pump out the waste prior to trying to remove the tank. And that is a really good question, and I don't have an answer for that. It definitely seems like that would have been the more logical thing to do, but they didn't. And so what that means is tonight we do not have a septic system. Now let that sink in, because what that means is we do not have use of our toilets, we cannot wash our hands, we cannot take showers. Anything that has to do with the drain is a no-go. And it's not like we can just pack our bags and go stay at a family member's house, because we currently have 5 animals, and at least a portion of our zoo would have to come along with us. So we're just going to kind of rough it out and camp out here. I'm going to call around to some family members, see if I can go over there and we can take a shower, and then I guess right before bedtime run down to the gas station and use their restroom, and then hopefully first thing in the morning they will be able to install our new tank. And that brings me to the other thing that has changed since this morning. I told you in this morning's video that we were going to be using a concrete septic tank, and we have actually opted to go with the slightly more expensive plastic tank. Now, if you Google it, you'll see there are pros and cons to both types of tanks, but this was really the only option for our property because we have so many trees, and it's one of the things that we really love about our property. It's why we call ourselves Wildwood Estate. But the 18-wheeler that would be required to not only transport the concrete tank, but also the crane that is used to lower it into place, would not be able to make it through the trees. And also, our ground is so saturated right now that it would probably just sink into the ground from the weight. So we opted to go with plastic, and I was reading that as long as it's done properly, it can really last up to 40 years, which is really great. But as of right now, things are not so great, and we are definitely having a poopy St. Patrick's Day.